Hello, Waldemar. Welcome to PolkaWorld.
Hi, Kristen. Thanks for the invite. It's really a pleasure to join you and your community and present Integritee.
Yeah, we're thinking about reaching out to you guys for a long time. Finally, we made it.
Yeah, I'm super curious and looking forward to have that interview.
Yeah, and before all of it, so could you please start by introducing yourself and share a little bit about your background and.
Yeah, sure. So basically about myself, I have a very traditional career. I would say I started my career around 10 years ago in the financial services sector as an IT and management consultant. And I was working for the largest insurers in the German-speaking market, like, Helvetia, like Generali, like Allianz, so the big players, right? And I was basically in the past developing solutions that are regulatory relevant for those companies. And by 2017, I got into the whole blockchain space. The first time professionally, not, I mean, I was interested in crypto, of course, also earlier on. And I was active in that space, but really professional-wise, I started around 2017 in that space, building first solutions for companies in the Swiss market based on blockchain technology to really use the technology to digitalize processes and make processes more efficient. And that's how my career in that space actually started.
Yeah, 2017, that's a great place to enter, and Bitcoin hit the all-time high at that time.
Yeah, that's true. I think it was by end of 2017 when Bitcoin hits the high, but then it got quickly down as well, right? In 2018, so, entering the bear market, and I remember that phase. Yeah, it was also quite tough, I would say.
Yeah, a tough entry.
Yeah.
And after that, would you mind giving us a presentation of your project? Okay, and this will help us gain a better understanding of your project.
Yes, sure. I mean, I'm super glad to give your community and your audience also an intro to Integritee for those who haven't heard about Integritee yet. So I try to keep it short, not too long. I don't want to bore your community, right? So yeah, I will just start, right? And I mean, feel free to ask questions if something is unclear or too technical, because we are a super technical project. It's difficult to grasp. So I would just start right away, right? So I mean, what we are doing, right, is we are solving a problem that blockchain has as of today, right? I mean, we know that blockchain technology has some powerful benefits or advantages, like the decentralization, shared security, immutability, so you can't change something that is already on the chain, right? But also transparency and traceability is a very important aspect of blockchain as of now. But I mean, it has those advantages, but there are still significant challenges that are remaining, like the limited scalability, low performance, right? It's really not enough to produce blocks every couple of seconds for specific use cases to really bring also traditional use cases into Web3. Most of the chains are completely transparent, so you don't have any confidentiality. And this is basically, I mean, most of the businesses nowadays have a certain degree of confidentiality that they want to keep, right? And that's one of the aspects, because they don't want to enter the space because everything is transparent and they are afraid of that level of transparency. And also the lack of interoperability. So most of the solutions are like islands, right? Super closed, and they can't communicate with other solutions out there. So what we are doing is basically we have our own L1 chain as a parachain running on Polkadot, right? As you can see here on the left side. And our layer 1 parachain is basically only finalizing layer 2 blocks, and it serves as an auditing solution for trusted execution environments. And what we are enabling is basically a layer 2 solution on top of our layer 1 solution. So projects can really use our SDKs, or developers or projects or companies can use our SDK to build new generation applications that are super fast, scalable, and you can basically also configure the degree of privacy you want for your app, right? It's not like, oh, well, we have another layer 2 solution and you can build an application on top of our layer 2 solution, but our SDK really enables every project to build their own lightweight sidechain on layer 2. So, and that's, I think, a game changer. I talked about confidential computing. Confidential computing is basically a new technology. I mean, it's not that new. It's already around 10 years old, but it now gets more traction and more usage in also traditional markets. And what it does is basically, in the past, you were able to encrypt data at rest in a database, for example, or data in transit. Like if you're doing a Signal or WhatsApp call, for example, the communication channel is encrypted end to end, basically, right? And that's a security advantage. But there was no solution for data in use, right? While data is really processed. And confidential computing is basically a hardware-enabled technology where you can now protect data while it is really processed in the main memory of a server. And we are now basically combining confidential computing as a technology with blockchain. And that allows us really to provide scalable and high-performance solutions. What we have built over the past basically 3.5 years is on the one side, the SDK. So you have the software development kit to build your own applications on top of our network. We have built an Oracle framework that we have released in the beginning of the year. Basically, you can now also take that framework and build your own Oracle solution, whether it's price feeds from CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap or weather data, any kind of IoT data. You can basically now build your own oracles based on our technology. We have also built an infrastructure to provide easy access to the hardware because our technology requires specific hardware. And we have specialized on that hardware to really make it easy for projects to also deal with the whole infrastructure part. And just a week ago, we have also launched our attestation service for trusted execution environments, which is basically the first decentralized attestation service for trusted execution environments. And this is serving as a auditing service, basically, to any kind of trusted execution environments, whether it's running on our chain or whether it's a really traditional company which is using that technology but wants to have auditability on a public chain. And those are the 4 products we have released so far. And with that technology, we can basically really serve a variety of use cases, whether it's in blockchain gaming to provide low latency and scalability, to really provide an experience like with centralized games, traditional games, right? Because, I mean, Web3 gaming as of now was mainly, oh, well, either it's super low quality or low performance, and you don't want to stuck in the game and wait for the block confirmations all the time, right? So blockchain gaming is a very important industry for us, but we also serve different use cases in financial services or, for example, identity protocols, where we can basically provide a lot of benefits to those projects. And our value proposition is basically really scalability. We are able to provide sub-second block times up to 300 milliseconds, which is for a human being instantly, basically, right? And we can facilitate around 1 million transactions per second overall on our chain, which is way more than any other chain is possible to do at the moment. I mentioned the configurable privacy as well before, right? So projects that are building applications can now really decide while they are building the application, which parts of the application should be confidential and private and which parts can be open and transparent. Then you have everything basically as a verification stored on our public ledger. So users can anytime verify anything that is running on chain. and also the superior interoperability. So our technology allows basically to connect to any kind of Web2 API, so connect to the traditional world as well, but also connect to other blockchain ecosystem, right? So in theory, our technology can also be connected to any other blockchain which is light client capable. And I think that's also the future, to be really interconnected with other ecosystems and not only having communities and islands that can't talk to each other, right? And just one sentence about our roadmap. As you can see, we have already started with developing the technology since early 2019, end of 2018. So it was quite a while ago. We were supported by several Web3 grants. We have been one of the earliest projects in the Polkadot ecosystem. And since then, we have been able to launch our mainnet, our token. Last year, we have released the first product. We have been recognized as one of the top 10 promising Swiss startups by EU startups. We have been the finalist of the European Cybersecurity Organization Startup Award. And this year, we continued really to release more products, make it more easier to integrate for developers. And yeah, now as we released 4 products, we are really in the stage to grow the ecosystem and yeah, get more traction on chain.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it from my side. I hope it was comprehensive and not too technical.
Well, I think it's not too technical, but it is technical.
Definitely, yeah.
And now we got a general idea of your project. And in your presentation, and you mentioned that interoperability is the pain point of a blockchain. So that is why you choose Polkadot?
Well, not only, but of course also an aspect. I think the reason why we have chosen Polkadot back in the days, I mean, we started end of 2018, beginning of 2019, and well, Polkadot really provided a very high level of quality regarding the code, regarding modularity, right? And we haven't been able to do the same thing on Ethereum, for example, right? So it was clear that Polkadot, the technology and the vision is superior to Ethereum, and that's why we decided to go for Polkadot.
Yeah, it's the shared security and the interoperability.
Exactly. So we have shared security that we can basically rely on, right? So we don't have to build up our own network of validators. Basically, we can leverage the technology and also the modularity that I mentioned, right? So Polkadot, many don't know that, but Polkadot is pretty modular. And you can reuse many pieces and replace pieces with other stuff very easily. And you have also forkless upgrades, for example, which is very beneficial for projects, right? Also in terms of getting adopted by traditional players, right? So actually hard forks are really a big deal for traditional companies. And if you have something that is more aligned with traditional worlds, where you have updates that you just basically apply on your IT systems, right? It's easier for them to deal with that.
Yes, and Polkadot really offers a very great infrastructure. But the performance, privacy, and scalability is always the problems that occurs in blockchain industry. As you mentioned in the presentation, but I want to drag this part out. That can you share some metrics or benchmarks that showcase how Integritee effectively address these issues?
Yeah, we have done some benchmarks already with our technology, and what we are able to do is, or capable of providing, is our sidechain technology. As you have seen on one slide, where you have running multiple sidechains on our network, right? So one sidechain is able to process around 2,000 transactions per second. And the beauty of our technology is that it can be scaled horizontally, right? So you could, as an application, you could start with one sidechain. You have 2,000 transactions per second. And then if you see okay, my user base is growing, I have bigger demand, I could spin up a second sidechain, which would add another 2,000 transactions per second throughput, right? And through that horizontal scalability, we can basically scale up and scale down, right? And also provide that million transactions per second on our chain, as I mentioned before. So in theory, we could host on one parachain around 500 sidechains, and every sidechain would be able to process around 2,000 transactions per second, right? And the beauty as well is that projects can scale independently, right? So it's not like they are competing against each other for resources, right? So they can really scale on their own if they have the demand. And this is again more attractive for traditional players and companies where you are basically already used to that kind of scalability, right? And well, this is something we are basically providing. In terms of privacy, not sure if we want to go into the detail of what's the difference of ZK, for example, and trusted execution environments, which is always a question, right? So I wouldn't really say either or, right? I mean, ZK is a very cool technology to do certain things, right? To provide a certain degree of privacy in specific use cases, but it isn't able of doing the same stuff as trusted executions are, right? So trusted execution environments are basically bringing a whole new use cases to Web3, which aren't able to be really developed with a ZK technology yet. And also the high scalability wouldn't be possible with ZK technology as of now, right? I guess 10 years down the road, for sure, it might be possible, but now it's not. And that's why we decided to go with that solution for privacy.
Regarding the sidechain concept you mentioned, that it sounds like similar to the layer 2 to Ethereum, right?
Well, yes. I mean, we call it also layer 2. It is basically running on top of our layer 1 network, right? And yes, it is basically a layer 2 solution where projects have to operate also validator nodes, right? To get consensus about the block production. And as I mentioned, you are able to go down to 300 milliseconds block production on layer 2 compared to 12 seconds on a parachain at the moment, right? So that's a huge difference. And how do we do that? We're basically running a lightweight consensus and validator nodes that are trusted execution based. So we are using that technology again here for scalability as well.
How does Integritee attract developers in such a fiercely competitive and cold and bearish environment?
Yeah, one aspect is, of course, high quality that I mentioned before. I think there are many people out there that are looking for the best solution and not only for the hype solution, right? And the thing is, you can do well by riding the hype wave basically for a certain time. But once the hype ends, right, you don't have any substantial base to continue, right? And even in bear markets and difficult times, if you have a good product, it will be used, right? So this is what we are trying to do, keeping up the high quality, but also giving some incentives. We have just recently implemented technology-wise bounties for developers. We haven't launched the first bounties yet, but this is something we're working on. So we want to be more inclusive, to get more developers outside the core team on board, right, to develop useful tools or support on the code base as well. And that's why we went that route to offer bounties. This is something that will definitely come in the next weeks as well. And I think that's the only thing you can do at the moment, right? Either provide good quality, good technology, right, with incentives, or throw a lot of money at developers. You can do that as well, but I'm not sure how effective that is in the current market, right? So.
Okay, what kind of SDKs you're mentioning? And so in case there are some developers watching our video, so can you list some SDKs that is very good for developers to use?
I mean, for our technology specifically, we have developed our own SDK, right? So if you, I'm happy to provide some links also afterwards that can be shared, right? We have a lot of documentation out there, so developers who are new to either Polkadot or Integritee can study that documentation to get into the technology to really boost their knowledge curve or their learning curve. And our own technology, our own SDK can be found via our website or different links. And this is the only thing you actually need to develop an application on our chain, right? So you don't have to install another 5 SDKs or whatever. So that's basically covering everything you need to build applications on top of our network.
In Polkadot ecosystem, there are a lot of enterprise level use cases. And I think Integritee does a good job in this aspect as well. And so what are some new or improved use cases for dApps that Integritee enables for enterprises?
Of course, I mean, that's talking generally about enterprises is a wide range of industries, right? Maybe I can give you an example. So we are currently working with, for example, a company which is in the energy sector, right? And they are trying to build a solution for decentralized market matching of energy for small communities. So, for example, if you have, let's say, 10 households in a small community and everyone has solar panels on their roofs, they are producing energy, solar energy, and they would be able to trade the energy between each other, right? And this is something that they want to basically now enable. So not getting the electricity from the energy grid, but trading it with some neighbors, right? And that in a decentralized manner. So they have built a market matching engine that is running now on our or soon on our network, right? And they get basically they're running auctions, energy auctions on our technology. And what they can do is they can store a proof as well on our transparent public chain, so that really those consumers or producers within the household can really verify whether their bids and asks were considered in that auction, right? So, and this is something you won't think about initially, right? So, and there are no tokens or crypto involved, so it's really a traditional use case that can run on a decentralized network, but has not much to do with crypto as we know, right? So, and I think that's a very beautiful case, how we can basically attract traditional players into the Web3 world to let them benefit from the decentralization, from an immutable public ledger, right? Without letting them deal with all those downsides of crypto, the complexity of managing wallets and doing token transfers and stuff like that. So, and I think that's the way to go, right? Making it really easy for traditional companies to enter the space, and also end users shouldn't really be aware of the technical underlying details. So, because I mean, if you use, I don't know, WeChat or whatever at the moment, you don't care what kind of database they use, what kind of cloud server they use. You just want to have an application that is really user-friendly, easy to use, right? And that's how it should be. And that's what we try with our technology to enable. Yeah, other use cases are in the financial services sector, right? Really enabling CBDCs, for example, and basically any kind of use case where you also need confidentiality, and I mean real confidentiality, right? So sensitive data that shouldn't be exposed to a wider public.
And let's move to the recent hot topic that is core time, Polkadot 2.0. Does the Polkadot 2.0 gonna impact your network? Or
yeah, good question. I mean, we haven't thought about that too much yet, to be honest, but it shouldn't be a big deal for us in general, because it's just a change in the model, how you're obtaining resources from the chain, right? Technically, I mean, we are not really awaiting any kind of negative impact from that change on our network. But I think it will definitely change the way how parachain teams in general in the ecosystem will interact with their communities, because the whole parachain auction thing was really a hot topic 2 years ago, right? Started in 2021. It got a lot of attention as well. And this is something that will definitely change. And I'm also curious. I mean, as I mentioned, I can't foresee the future, right? But it will be interesting to see how that will shift in the community as well, right? Because the community will be less involved into those activities of parachains anymore.
Okay. Do you think that the core time will reduce the entry barriers of developers? You know, who is going to entering into Polkadot before they have to get a slot, even though now it's very cheap.
Exactly. Yeah, you're raising a very interesting point. Yes, I mean, I would say 2 years ago when we started also with participating in the parachain auctions, it was super competitive and super difficult for teams to get a parachain, for sure. If I look at the auctions at the moment, especially Kusama, right? Not only talking about the Polkadot chain, it got super cheap, right?
We can get a slot in by less than one Kusama, right?
Yes, exactly. I think the cheapest one so far was 0.04 Kusama, which is not even $5, right? So I think that changed a lot. So now it is, even with the auctions, let's say, easier to get a slot, right? That's not anymore a big hurdle. But in general, it makes sense, right? Because also the block time then will make it more accessible, even for one person projects that are just starting, right? To really enjoy the whole set of advantages of the chain. That's definitely the case. So yeah, but I'm also curious to see how it will play out. Nobody knows yet, you know.
Yeah, we are looking forward for it. And so finally, in the end, could you share with us some main goals and for the near future?
I think at least for this year, it will be definitely supporting the projects that are also using our technology already and getting a couple of more projects on board. So growth, ecosystem growth will be an important topic short term, getting more traction on chain. I think technology-wise, product development-wise, we are on a good way. We have released our products. Of course, a product is never finished. You can always yeah, exactly. Make products better, add features and stuff like that. That's something we will definitely do as well. But I think the biggest part of the development is already done. We have released the products, and now it's really about to get more traction on chain, get more clients, more customers on board. And yeah, this is something we will focus more in the next months.
Yeah,
and hopefully the market will be also getting better over the course of the next months. I think everyone is looking for this as well, right? So everyone is looking for the next bull run to get also more attention from people outside the space. So
yeah, and thank you so much for your sharing and your insights and details about Integritee. So we are excited to see that how Integritee continues to make an impact in the blockchain space, in the Polkadot ecosystem. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kristen. It was really a pleasure having that interview with you and talking to your community, right? Introducing our project to the community. And yeah, I hope we can do that in the near future again to share more updates about our project.
Sure.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.